Hello and welcome to AccuCulture's YouTube channel. I'm Om, and in this video we are going to discuss nutrient uptake in soil and hydroponics growing. We are going to start this discussion with looking at different components of soil, then we'll shift to hydroponics so that you will get to understand what actually changes when we move to hydroponics from soil. We are going to see how fertilizers impact soil and hydroponics. We are going to discuss similarities as well as differences between both growing techniques. So there is a lot to cover. You don't have to watch this video in its entirety because we are putting timestamps, so you can watch different concepts in parts. We shot the same video last week in my mother tongue Marathi, so I'm warmed up and I'm ready to do a better job this time. So without further delay, let's get started. Fundamentally, there is only one difference between soil and hydroponics, that is the combination of nutrients and how plants take up nutrients in soil and hydroponics. To understand this, we'll look at 4 different components of soil first. So by volume, soil is 25% air, 25% water, 45% minerals and 5% organic matter. It's just a template. In real time, things change, but for now we are sticking to this template. Now we have to look at how these 4 components or what these 4 components give to a plant for its growth and nutrition. Soil has various gases which contribute to 25% of its volume. Soil has oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, in smaller proportion gases like ammonia, methane. Plants require oxygen at the root zone because plants' roots breathe the way we do. Plants also like carbon dioxide at the root zone. It gives extra CO2 for photosynthesis. Microbes need oxygen. Microbes also need nitrogen for nitrification. Microorganisms need CO2 for carbon dioxide fixation. So both plants and microorganisms need gases from the soil. When there is too much water in soil, water will take up all air pores and there won't be any air or gases left in the soil. It will affect all microorganisms. It will affect plants because plant will suffocate because lack of oxygen and eventually die. On the other hand, if there is lesser water in soil, plants will spend most of their energy in search of water and nutrients. It's an energy wastage because plants could use this energy for flowering, for fruiting, for health. So water should be always in correct proportion. When we look at water in soil, we have to look it as a dynamic property and not a fixed number because it changes with soil properties, topography and climate. Let's discuss soil minerals. Soil minerals and organic matter provide nutrients to the plant. What are soil minerals? From where do they come? How soil is formed? It's the same thing. Rocks undergo deterioration for thousands of years because of sun, wind, chemical interactions and rain. All nutrients or all minerals come from there. Now depending on size of these minerals, depending on size of soil particles, we classify them as clay, silt and sand. Proportion of these 3 will determine soil texture and how these particles hold each other or aggregate or lack thereof will determine soil structure. One small note, it takes thousands of years to build soil structure, but it can be destroyed in minutes. We are going to place many concepts on top of this one small point, so just keep in this mind. We have to understand one thing, all minerals should be present in an ionic form for uptake. These minerals or plant nutrients could be positively charged cations or negatively charged anions. When cations and anions mix in water, that's when they are ready for plant absorption. In soil, we call it soil solution. In hydroponics, we call it hydroponic nutrient solution. It's the same thing. Minerals dissolved in water, present in an ionic form, ready for plants to absorb. Now, soil has many minerals. Do plants require all of them? There's gold and diamond in soil. Do plants need gold? Obviously not. Plant only need 16 essential nutrients without which they can't complete their life cycle. 3 of them come from air. Carbon, hydrogen and oxygen come from carbon dioxide and oxygen. Rest of them come from soil. Soil has nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, sulfur, iron, manganese, boron, chlorine, molybdenum, zinc, and copper. Some books will include nickel as a 17th essential nutrient, but that's not a point of concern for this discussion. What are essential nutrients? Without essential nutrients, plant can't complete their life cycle. That's why they are essential. Even if one of them is absent, plant will not grow. So that's why all of them are essential. For example, if soil doesn't have silica, silicon is not an essential nutrient, so it doesn't matter. But if boron is not present in soil, which is an essential nutrient, a plant will not grow. That's the basic concept. All of these essential nutrients are required to complete plant's life cycle. Without them, plants will not grow. Now let's look at organic matter. Organic matter is a product of animal and plant decomposition in various stages. Organic matter improves soil's ability to provide and store plant nutrients. Organic matter improves water holding capacity of the soil. It also improves soil structure. It provides a carbon source, a food source for all organisms, microorganisms. It enhances biodiversity as well as improves functionality of the soil. So it's a must for soil health. We have to remember one thing, that organic matter isn't available in an ionic form. Of course, it's essential for soil health, but how does it help a plant grow? It's simple. Microorganisms break down organic matter, and as a result, we get nutrients in an ionic form which are ready for plant nutrient absorption. The way mother cooks food for her kids, it's the same thing. Not only that, microorganisms also assist plant take up nutrients. So it's like feeding like a mother in a literal sense. Now let's look at organic and inorganic fertilizers. What do they give to the soil? Organic fertilizers will provide organic matter, obviously. They will also provide some water, microorganisms, colony of microorganisms, as well as nutrients in an ionic form. Organic fertilizers will improve soil fertility. It will improve water holding capacity of the soil. It will improve soil structure. So it's a sustainable approach. It will not give quick results, but results are sure, and it's a long way, or a sustainable way to go about things. Inorganic fertilizers or inorganic salts or chemical fertilizers, it's the same thing. They are made up of salts. Any salt, when dissolves in water, will give a positively charged cation and a negatively charged anion. For example, calcium nitrate, when it dissolves in water, it will give positively charged calcium, negatively charged nitrate. Both are essential plant nutrients, and it's amazing because within seconds plant get nutrients in an ionic form dissolved in water. It eliminates complexity of organic fertilizers. That's why it's effective and it's good for quick fixes. Here is a point I want to mention where we went wrong as a country. Inorganic salts are effective, they are good for quick fixes, but essentially they are salts. I remember when I was in school, we used to pinch some salt on earthworms and they used to dance. Now I understand that those earthworms were hurt. Now imagine putting heavy doses of inorganic fertilizers in soil. They'll kill all microorganisms. They'll destroy soil structure. They will decrease water holding capacity of the soil. So it's not that inorganic fertilizers are the problem, but the proportion at we use them is a problem. Now let's look at hydroponics. Hydroponics is a method of growing plants in nutrient rich water with help of an inert medium which holds a plant. What we do is, in hydroponics, we add several inorganic salts in different proportions and we call it a nutrient recipe. This recipe contains all essential nutrients required for plant growth. We can change this recipe depending on plants, the stage of the plant growth, weather, and it gives us extreme ownership on the plant nutrition aspect. Hydroponics has 4 components that are similar to soil. So let's look at hydroponics 4 components. Soil air becomes dissolved oxygen in hydroponics. It's the same thing, it's providing oxygen to the plants. When water surface breaks, it helps oxygen get dissolved in water. So that's why many hydroponic systems are recirculating in nature, or they'll use a air bubbler so that oxygen will mix in water. The second component is water itself. Hydroponics is divided into water culture or pure hydroponics and substrate culture depending on how a plant sits on water. If a plant is sitting on water with help of small little inert media, then it's true hydroponics because plant is actually growing on water, so it's water culture or true hydroponics. On the other hand, in a substrate culture, plant is sitting on top of a substrate. So substrate is doing the plant holding job, and we add nutrients in water and give it to the plant. So both are hydroponics, but in water culture, a plant is sitting on top of water, and in substrate culture, plant is sitting on top of an inert media. In hydroponics, we use tap water or RO water. The reason for it is we are providing nutrients in a correct proportion with the help of nutrient recipe, and we don't want water chemistry to interfere with it. So for example, if my whale water has 50 ppm calcium and I'm providing 200 ppm of calcium, then it will interfere with my recipe. So that's why most probably we'll use tap water or RO water in hydroponics. In soil, it's not the case. Of course, soil water shouldn't be hard, but this is a small difference between hydroponics and soil growing. Soil minerals and organic matter are replaced by inorganic salts in hydroponics. What happens is we add a set of different inorganic salts in different proportion in water. They'll dissolve quickly and provide nutrients in an ionic form which will be available for plant nutrient absorption. In soil, these inorganic fertilizers were harming the soil. They were destroying soil structure. But in hydroponics, there is no soil structure. In soil, these inorganic salts were killing biodiversity of the soil. They were killing microorganisms. But in hydroponics, there are no microorganisms, or there is no need of any microorganisms because all nutrients are always present in an ionic form at the root zone. So the complexity of the soil based growing is eliminated in hydroponics because all nutrients, all essential nutrients are present in water in an ionic form and always readily available for absorption. So this is the difference between hydroponics and soil based growing. Hydroponics is precision based and soil is ecosystem based approach. An inert media or substrate is something which holds a plant and provides right conditions at the root zone. It shouldn't have any chemical properties, it shouldn't change pH of the solution. It's just holding a plant and providing right conditions. So what are these right conditions? For that we have to look at three different characteristics of a media. When I'm saying hydroponic media or an inert media, I'm mostly referring to coco peat or OSS cubes because these are the cheap and readily available options in India. So the first characteristics is water holding capacity. Similar to soil, any media should hold water. The second property is air-filled porosity. A media or a substrate should also hold some air and allow some air exchange because plants' root require oxygen. And the third property is cation exchange capacity. What is cation exchange capacity? Soil solution is usually negatively charged and clay particles are negatively charged. All cations stick to clay particles, and when it comes in contact with the root hair, the plant gives hydrogen ions and a clay particle exchanges a cation with the plant. So soil particles or hydroponic substrate should hold cations and exchange them with the plant as and when required. This is what we call a cation exchange capacity. Now let's look at differences between hydroponics and soil based growing. In soil, nutrients could be present but may not be available for absorption for various reasons like water stress, pH, antagonism, etc. In hydroponics, nutrients are always present at the root zone in an ionic form. If something is missing or something is present in lesser proportion, we can quickly correct a recipe and give it to the plant the next day. So hydroponics provides much more control over plant nutrition aspect. We can change the recipe depending on the weather, stage of the plant, type of a plant. So that's why hydroponics plants grow efficiently and faster than soil based plants. In soil science, there is a law called as law of minimum. What it says is there could be many nutrients in abundance in soil, but these nutrients will not affect the yield. What is lacking or what is missing or a limiting factor, limiting nutrients, will affect overall growth and will affect overall yield. So it's not what's present, but what is lacking will affect the overall growth and overall yield. In hydroponics, we are always providing nutrients in a balanced proportion, so there are no limiting factors and plants can go up to their genetic potential. In soil, there are always some limiting factors, so in soil it's difficult for plants to go up to their genetic potential. When a positively charged cation and a negatively charged anion combine, they precipitate and they are no longer available in an ionic form, and they are no longer available for nutrient absorption. In soil, what happens is calcium and phosphate will combine to make calcium phosphate, calcium and sulfur will combine to make calcium sulfate, and then these ions are no longer available for nutrient absorption. In hydroponics, the same thing happens, but what we do is we make hydroponic nutrient solution in 2 or 3 different parts, where we keep calcium in one part and we keep sulfate and phosphates in different parts, and the overall nutrient concentration isn't high to make many precipitates. There could be precipitates in hydroponics, but they are much more lesser than soil. Now let's look at antagonism and synergism. When two nutrients are applied together and if it's giving better results, then it's synergism, because these two nutrients are helping each other. For example, calcium and silicon, when we give them together, we get better results, versus some nutrients will compete with each other, and that's antagonism. For example, calcium and magnesium, both are positively charged, both have 2 plus charge, so they will compete with each other in soil. So that's antagonism. What happens is, if soil has more calcium, plants will not take magnesium. If soil has more magnesium, they will not take calcium. One more example, NPK is antagonist with calcium. So if we are applying much of NPK fertilizers, then plant will not take up calcium. So this antagonism is always at play in soil science, but in hydroponics we are always providing nutrients in correct proportion. So antagonism is there, but it is reduced to a level where it's insignificant. Now let's look at pH in hydroponics and soil growing. pH is extremely sensitive and it's a logarithmic function. For example, log of 10 is 1, log of 100 is 2, log of 1000 is 3, log of 10,000 is 4, log of 1 lakh is 5. So pH isn't changing from 1 to 2 or 3, 4. It's actually changing 10 times when I go from 2 to 3 or 3 to 4. When I'm going from 4 to 5, the difference is not 4 to 5, that 1, but the difference is 90,000 units. So pH is extremely sensitive and we always measure it in points: 5.5, 6.5, 7, 7.1, because it's that sensitive. Now, when pH is 7, it's neutral environment. When pH is less than 7, it's an acidic environment. When pH is more than 7, it's a basic environment. Plants like to have acidic environment. We just saw how concentration of hydrogen ions help plant nutrient uptake in cation exchange capacity. So the concentration of hydrogen ion is extremely important, which is basically pH. I can give you one more example. For example, if I offer you a bowl of soup which contains all nutrients, I also have to offer you a spoon to have that soup. Without a spoon, you can't have that soup. So pH works like that. pH is the spoon for nutrients. When pH goes beyond 7, iron and micronutrients are not available for absorption. So we always try to maintain pH at 7 or less than 7. Plants like acidic environments. In hydroponics, we try to maintain pH from 5.5 to 6.5, where all nutrients are present for absorption. In hydroponics, measuring pH and correcting it is extremely simple. If you have a dosing system, then it's taken care of. But you don't have to ever worry about pH or nutrient delivery. In soil, it's difficult to identify pH and difficult to correct it. So that's a bonus advantage when we are doing hydroponics. One small interesting fact or interesting thing: in hydroponics, if pH goes beyond 6.5, we will start seeing iron deficiencies and micronutrient deficiencies, because there is no assistance from micronutrients in microorganisms in hydroponics. But in soil, the complexity, the diversity, or the microorganisms colony are always assisting plants grow. So soil can work at pH 7, even at pH 7.2, but hydroponic systems can't work at pH more than 7. So that's the difference between hydroponics and soil based growing. During flowering and fruiting process, plant need more of phosphorus, potassium and calcium. Soil may fail to give that to the plants during this phase. But in hydroponics, we are always optimizing nutrition. We are always changing nutrition recipe depending on plant stages. So it will not happen in hydroponics. Soil based fruits may lack some shelf life issues or quality because of lack of potassium and calcium in soil. But in hydroponics, that doesn't happen because we're always taking care of nutrition. When we give right environment and right nutrition to the plants, which is much more easier in hydroponics, plant can do what they do best. What do you want from your plants? Do you want more leaves? Do you want more stems? Do you want more flowers, more fruits, flavor, texture, shelf life, storability? Everything you want comes when we optimize plant nutrition and environment, and it's much more easier in hydroponics. Now let's look at resources required for hydroponics and soil. Hydroponics require lesser water when we are doing true hydroponics or water based systems. Hydroponics will require the same amount of water when we are doing substrate based systems. So substrate based systems and soil based growing with mulching, with drip irrigation will require same amount of water. Hydroponics will require lesser labor because there is much more scope for automation and lesser labor intensive activities. Hydroponics will require nutrients in lesser quantities or fertilizers in lesser quantities, because all the nutrients or all the fertilizers we are using are used up and nothing washes away. In soil, 50% of nutrients that we are using wash away or leach. So we have to look it as a effective use of nutrients. So hydroponics actually requires lesser fertilizers than soil. There is one thing that hydroponics requires more. Hydroponic requires more electricity. Electricity failure is a crop failure in hydroponics. So hydroponic system builders as well as farmers are always worried about electricity failure. That's a disadvantage compared to soil based growing. Hydroponics is the pot based growing, so it has its own side effects. There are no weeds in hydroponics, no soil borne diseases. High density plantation is possible. When we are planting, there are two limiting factors: sunlight and plant nutrition in soil. So we have to distance our plants. But in hydroponics, sunlight is the only limiting factor. So we may use high density plantation. Also in hydroponics, we can go vertically. So that's why high density plantation is possible. In hydroponics, we are using water and a substrate, so we can do one crop throughout the year for years and years. There is no need of crop rotation, and it's something one should know when they are setting up their business. In soil based growing, you can grow one crop for a year, 2 years, 3 years max, but after that you will have to do crop rotation, and it's difficult because you will have to manage your marketing, you will have to manage a new market, a new crop. Your laborers need to be trained to grow a new crop. So it's an opportunity, it's a business thing that you have to understand when you are going for hydroponics, that with hydroponics we can grow one crop throughout the year, maybe in stages for many years, and that's something one should know when they are setting up their business. Hydroponics is a monocrop system. You can only grow one crop So if the system is built to grow tomatoes, you can only grow tomatoes. If the system is built to grow leafy vegetables, you can only grow leafy vegetables, because we are optimizing plant nutrition for one crop only. On the other hand, you can grow multiple vegetables or multiple crops in soil. So that's a limitation, but you can also see it as a business opportunity. In hydroponics, staged production is possible and year-long production is possible with help of controlled environment agriculture. In soil, staged production is not possible and year-long production is possible, but again it's difficult, and a better choice is to go with hydroponics when we are doing year-long production. Now let's look at similarities between both growing techniques. When we are discussing soil or hydroponics, we are always discussing the root zone. We are never discussing a shoot zone. So environment plays a major role when it comes to both soil and hydroponics. If environment isn't correct, plant will not grow. Even in both techniques, you may provide the best plant nutrition, but if humidity is probably 90%, plant will not grow. So environment plays the same effect on both growing systems. I want to combine ethical aspect and pest management. In hydroponics or soil-based growing, we should go for integrated pest management. We should not poison our food. We should always go for organic pesticides. We are doing organic farming because it's sustainable and it's chemical free. We are doing hydroponics because it's sustainable and again it's poison free. So that's our ethical responsibility. One last message before I end this video. I don't want to say hydroponics is better or soil-based growing is better. Both techniques have their advantages and disadvantages. Hydroponics is better when we are growing flowers, leafy vegetables, herbs, fruity vegetables as well as medicines, because we get much more control over nutrition. We need soil because we want to grow bigger trees. We have to go with organic farming because that's needed. Hydroponics or vertical farming cannot solve the food hunger problem. We need both of these things for our generation as well as generations to come. So we have to look them as equally and not something as better or worse. So these are all the points for this video. I hope you like it. If you like our video, please like, share and subscribe and comment. You can also email us if you have any queries. So thank you so much for watching. Have a good day.